We're going to begin. So welcome to everyone on the council. Today is May 16th, and we are having our meeting of the council. So what I'd like to do today, as you all know, is really focus on our goal setting for the next coming year. Before doing that, I'm going to turn it over to Leslie for the roll call, and then we'll do the minutes and then jump right into goal planning. So Leslie, would you like to do the roll call, please?
Sure.
Thanks.
Dr. Maureen Burmett. Dr. Michael Coyne.
Yes, hi, everybody.
Dr. Margie Gillis.
Here. Good afternoon, everyone.
Kimberly Healy.
Here.
Stephen Hernandez. Dr. Melissa Jenkins.
Present.
Christina Kinsberry. Dr. Stephanie Lockhart. Francis Rabinowitz.
Here. Hello, everyone.
Lisa Thomas.
I'm here.
Christina Tights. Roll call is complete.
Okay, thank you so very much. So as you know, here are our council norms about participating equitably. We talked about pausing, being open and allowing constructive silence, sharing the air, and we'll be utilizing all of our norms in while we're doing our goal setting. Active listening, which includes the paraphrasing and being present, and respecting all perspectives, assuming those positive intentions and taking an inquiry stance. Hello, Stephen. And welcome.
Great to be here. Thank you.
All right. So what we're going to do now is the acceptance of the minutes from January 17th and 21st. You were all sent in your invitation the addendum that Council Member Lisa Thomas did ask that we attach to the minutes. Please know that the meeting minutes do not need to be a verbatim replication of everything that we stated in the meeting. We have been going a little more broad. The official minutes are maintained by the State Department of Education. And at the last meeting, like I said, Lisa Thomas brought forward comments and questions regarding the minutes not reflecting concerns raised. So when I was going through the concerns, many of these are not within the control of the council, as we know, or the State Department of Education, where it does talk about well, for example, some of the things, are just not within our purview. Some is about legislation and things like that. But you've received the comments, and what we're doing now is asking if you would like to move to approve the draft minutes as amended by this document, and if you would like some discussion about that.
Are you asking for a motion first or just to talk about it?
Well, we don't really formalize our minutes, as you know, in the way that we're not voting on them and things like that. It's really more of a confirmation of them than an approval. So I guess what I'm asking is, are there any questions? And then what are your thoughts about what Lisa submitted? So Lisa?
Do you want like corrections of spelling, or do you want these to stay unedited?
Oh no, we want corrections on every point of view. So if there are, and please feel free to, if you notice these things prior to the meeting, you can just point it out to us. But definitely, Leslie's here to take notes. So if you've noticed some spelling errors, please do share.
I'm just used to running council meetings, so it's more formal. You know, we make a motion and all. So that's why I didn't send it to you ahead of time. If you look on section 3 of the minutes titled CSDE updates and go to the part B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs down. I think the end of the first sentence, just to make it a little bit clear, it says in the third line, schedule comma, should probably be just for grammar. It should say with which the Connecticut legislature charged the center, period. If you look on what would be page, I guess, 3 of the minutes. The next paragraph is the word technical assistance. The word assistance should be spelled ASSISTANCE. If you go down 3 paragraphs from there, the paragraph that starts with Dr. Lockhart, at the end of the 4th line, rather than is, it should say are, just I believe to be grammatically correct. And then in the next line, following the word responsible should be the word for, as long as we're a literacy council. 2 lines down, after the date 2027, all of Connecticut school districts, I think the word should be will have participated.
Well, she said theoretically, if she was 2027, they would, like, if you guys, she said, what she said.
However you want that to reflect that. And that's it. And then my other question is, are you, in saying that some of my comments were not within the purview of the charging statute, that's why my comments are not specifically attached to the minutes?
Well, they haven't been attached to the minutes yet. We're having that conversation now about attaching them to the minutes.
Okay.
So for example, the second bullet, cost to districts to implement this mandate when a potentially more effective, less expensive means for supporting science of reading in our schools is available. Has there been analysis for this? As you know, we follow the legislation. So if the analysis is not in the legislation, the analysis has not been done. And I'm not sure what you mean by the less expensive means when we are legislated to put forward the approved literacy or reading programs and as well as the curriculum models. Stephen?
Well, thank you for that. I think there's an element that we need to underscore here, which is this is an implementation council of a law that's been passed by the state of Connecticut supporting the science of reading. There are certain elements of the science of reading which are included not only in the legislation, but in the science. And I think it's important that we as a council, as an implementation council, make sure that that strategy is implemented with fidelity and that we adhere to the science of reading. So I think that's what underscores this whole conversation. And I just, that came to mind as we're having this conversation about, the minutes and all those elements. I think it's important that we keep that in mind always, that we are an implementation council of the law and also the science.
And then Lisa, do you have your hand up again, or was that from before?
I tried to put it down, put it back up again. So when I read the legislation, it asks us to be liaisons with school districts. It's really hard to avoid the conversation of cost, et cetera, in that role. I did not realize that the being part of an implementation council meant not questioning how that implementation happens. If that is the case, if that censorship exists, I guess I'll step back and reevaluate.
No, just as a point of personal privilege, thank you for that. It's not censorship, and that is exactly the role. And in fact, if our districts need resources, we need to provide those resources. they're lacking the resources, because they're lacking the support, or because they don't understand the science of reading, then we need to be the liaisons of that information, because kids' literacy is at stake.
Yes, and just to clarify too, no, we're not getting into like freedom of information here or speech and saying that you can't voice opinions, etc. It's just some of the things that were brought forward aren't really under the control of this council. And I do appreciate what Stephen brought up about the implementation piece. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we'll be going over the legislative responsibilities in that. One is to facilitate communication in the field and then disseminate the information, the tools, and the services made available by the center. So that is so important of this role. And then it helps to guide the center and the State Department of Education as to what resources we could be providing to districts. So for example, we were hearing a lot about the need for funding. So we developed the grant that I'll be talking more about. You know, we heard about professional learning. So we have a variety of professional learning that are going to be put in place. So without all of you on the council bringing these forward, much of this would not have occurred. So we thank you for that. Kim, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the things that I find challenging here is, knowing how this legislation was, how it came to be, I guess, or how it became implemented, and that because it didn't come through the regular legislative process, and I think, as we see with lots of legislation, changes are needed after it becomes a law. And one of the goals that I thought we had was to make this the best legislation that it could be, and which is why I testified with the bill that I'm hoping we will discuss at some point today. I am a firm believer in local control with our education, and so one of the things that I have struggled with the whole time I've been on here was my understanding was that the waiver process was going to be simple for towns. And that's clearly not the case. So, one of the things that I would like to see is we discuss changes that we think are necessary to make this the best state for reading, or with reading outcomes that it can be, without burdening every district with, a set of 7 programs or whatnot, however we have now. I'm hoping we have added some more, or allowing the municipalities or boards of education to, figure out their own way of ensuring that children are reading, using the science of reading, because I am firmly behind that, this process. So, I think I'm very much aligned with Lisa in this. And, again, I would really like to see us talk about what has to change, because, we can talk about money. I mean, I think, I live in Wilton, and I've talked to my Board of Education, and they're looking at $1 million, which will cost to just, buy one of the programs that has been approved by the council. And, most towns don't have that kind of money, especially right now. So anyway, I guess that's just kind of where I stand with this. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. So if I'm just going to pull everyone back together on the minutes. So we do need to accept the January 17th and the March 21st minutes. And the conversation was around where to put Lisa Thomas's comments and questions. So we had suggested that it's attached to one of the previous minutes, which I think, Lisa, your intent was the January 17 minutes or the March 21st minutes. Which place did you want those to be posted?
It was my statement at the March 21st meeting.
Okay, so this would then be included in the March 21st minutes. So any questions or comments about moving forward with the January 17 minutes, the March 21st minutes with Lisa's corrections as well as her addendum? Stephen?
I have to say, I feel very, very uncomfortable not including all of Lisa's comments in their entirety. I don't think we should start removing comments or removing, I mean, each of us is a member in our own right, and we should include the information that is presented at these meetings in their entirety.
So you're suggesting then posting these with the minutes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
This is Fran.
Hi, Fran.
I want to voice a similar opinion to Steve's, and I think it should be very much part of the minutes. And at some point after we get through this discussion, I would like to revisit the role of the council. I have every best respect for the right to read law. Somehow or other, I never saw myself as a rubber stamp. I saw myself as being able to discuss and put forward my thoughts on the implementation. If that's not the case, then I stand corrected.
Okay, any other comments about the minutes in which we would take Lisa's document and attach to the March 21st minutes? Any other questions about that?
Yes. I do, Lisa.
Okay.
I find it a little shocking that we're even having a conversation about whether my comments would be included in the minutes. It's something that I did say at the meeting. I provided a digital copy so that it would be easier to have in the minutes. We either have a formal minutes process for this council or we don't. So either we talk about accepting minutes and do it, in my opinion, the way it should be done, on a motion with discussion and a vote, or not. But to have a conversation about whether or not a member's comments are going to be included in the minutes really takes me aback.
Okay, so we can definitely have a formal way of doing the minutes. I'm not against that at all. In the beginning, it seemed like people wanted it not to be so formal, so we were just going with that. Absolutely, we can make this formal. Because the minutes were, once again, something that these are typical minutes we do for the State Department of Education, where, like I said, we really don't get into this person said this person said this person said that. And then you and I had discussed at the last minute attaching these. But because it is a council and not everyone was present at that meeting, I just really wanted to make sure that people.
So it wasn't a last minute thing. When I sat at that meeting in that room, I specifically said that I had comments and I specifically requested they be attached to the minutes. It wasn't a last minute thing. I mean, I don't want to keep working away at this, but I find this a little bit, it's just wrong. It is, I feel like my contribution is being suppressed, and that is not how we should be functioning as a council, especially as one that's part of education, where expression of ideas should be welcomed. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I just want to reiterate, nothing is being suppressed at all. You read them out loud at the last minute, the meeting, which was recorded. We took them and sent them to all of our members to be reviewed. So once again, I just want to make sure, since in the past we have not done this with the minutes, that we were moving forward in a way that would value what you had to say and what you're adding, and also value the thoughts of the rest of the council members. So if I'm understanding that, and if there's anyone who is not hearing this, that certain members would prefer a more formal way with the minutes. Is there anyone who does not want to do a more formal way?
I think the question is what's going to be available to the public as well.
Oh, true. Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. That
So that's
not only
why-
do we have these recordings, which are posted immediately after the meetings, and those are available to the public, but we'll also have the minutes, which you know are also available to the public. So I'm hearing yes, I'm not hearing any no's, so we'll move forward with a more formal process the next time. Is there any more conversation about including Lisa Thomas's document with our March 21st minutes? Oh, hi, Maureen, welcome.
No, I
You
just
wanna-
want to, I'm sorry, I was muted. I just want to concur that they should be attached, but I also think
Okay,
in response to your question, rather than just say formal, wouldn't it be wise for us to follow Robert's Rules of Order for how the minutes are conducted? That gives us a framework that I think most of us are used to, and it would then really help us to follow a very, predictable and, agreeable format, because those are kind of very standard in any type of committee work.
perfect. That would be perfect. Thank you. Like I said, when we first started, people weren't really vocalizing that they wanted formal. So thank you so much. Yes, we will definitely go forward with that. All right, so our hand's still up, so I'm sorry. Stephen, did you want to say something else?
Nope, sorry about that, except maybe I second a motion if there is a motion on the floor.
Okay. And Fran, did you want to say something else?
Not until the minutes are done, but I would like a
Okay.
discussion at some point on what this council's role is in the implementation.
Yes, absolutely. And that's actually what our meeting's devoted to today, is the role of the council and our goals moving forward. So that's absolutely perfect. All right, anything else about the acceptance of minutes? And moving forward, we'll be using our Robert's rules. All right, and we shall be posting January 17th without the draft, March 21st doing the corrections and adding Lisa's comments. All right, so here are the legislated responsibilities, as stated once again in the legislation, that the role of the members are to consult with the director, who's me, assist in informing the activities of the center, so around the legislation, what the center is legislated to do, facilitating communication in the field, disseminating that information, tools and services made available by the center. So for example, recently, as you know, we created the strategy. And once again, I thank all of you, as well as Dr. Jenkins and Dr. Coyne for creating that document. We will develop and publish annual goals for the center and meet at least once every 2 months. So these are the legislated responsibilities. And once again, I think Stephen really summarized it well by saying it's supporting the legislation, the implementation, and what the center is legislated to do. I keep saying the word legislated. I was trying to find another word, but that's basically what it comes down to. So here are our legislated responsibilities. What we're going to be doing today is establishing goals. So these are our draft goals for moving forward. We're going to review the consensus decision-making process, something that we brought up a while ago, examining the K-3 strategy that I just referenced, and then drafting our goals accordingly. So the consensus and gradient agreement, it's often good to start with what consensus is not, and it's not voting. So in the past, we've been very much consensus oriented. I am hearing that you're wanting to move more towards a more formal voting, as you were saying. But basically, I just want to ensure that all your voices are heard, that you understand the proposal, and that it's clear that the will of the group has emerged around this proposal. So at no time do I ever want anyone feeling that they do not have that freedom of speech, that they may not be a voice. That is not the intent at all, ever. And these are the gradients of agreement in a consensus type of conversation. So I'm just going to remind everyone about the why, how, and the what that you all created. We created this together. The why: every student has the right to read at or above grade level by the end of 3rd grade. At the last meeting, we did go back to that to see if any revisions needed to be done, and the council said, no, we're fine. The how: we are, the center is leading through change, bridging research to support Connecticut educators, families, policy leaders, and community members in increasing effectiveness of literacy teaching and learning. And the what: build on comprehensive local and regional literacy educational systems based on the culturally responsive, evidence-based literacy teaching and learning practices, strategies, and structures. These were our goals last year. If we will have an opportunity, as you saw in the PowerPoint that was sent to everyone, to have a conversation around these, and if we want to continue to have them to be goals, if we want to build upon them, there's whatever you're feeling needs to be moved forward as goals. But here they are for those people who were in the car. Review the research and analyze successful birth through grade 12 evidence-based literacy strategies, addressing all tiers of instruction and prevention of learning loss. So we reviewed the Hanover study and had various speakers come in that you had requested to talk about the science of reading and current programs in place. Consulting with the director, which is once again now me, on the reading curricula and the programs to be approved. So we so appreciate the work you did with that, looking at all the documents and giving us the approval to move forward. Having our special meeting about those approved programs and curricula. So thank you so much. And then also develop a birth through grade 12 literacy success strategy. We did develop the K3 literacy success strategy. So that might be something we want to keep on there to develop the other sides and continue that strategy. So what we're going to do now is I am going to give everyone some individual time, just once again, to look through the literacy strategy, to think about the council members' legislative responsibilities and the council's why, how, and what. Think about how do these inspire your work as a council member and how can they guide the work of the council. I'm going to ask that you reflect on your role as a council member and just jot down a short description of what you think the role is. What is the description of your role, and include any of the inspirations and jot down what you feel is essential to be included in the 2023-24 council goals. So I'm going to give everyone about 15 minutes to do this, and then we'll be going into small breakout rooms and having smaller conversations around what you all were thinking and coming together to bring forward some goals or goal elements that we can then continue to craft before our new year that's coming up in July 1. So any questions about your step now for the next 15 minutes? And once again, in your email, you do have the slide presentation. I could go back to another slide if you wanted me to do that, if that helps. But really thinking about your role and the description of your role, and including what inspires you and what do you feel is essential to be in the goals for next year. All right, I don't see any hands raised, so I'm going to start. So about 1:45, we'll come back together as a group. When you're done, if you just want to do a thumbs up, that will help me in determining time as well, if you need more time or less time. We have about 7 minutes. Okay, you have about 5 more minutes, and then we will go into breakout rooms. Okay, 3 minutes. We have about 2 minutes left, and for those of you who are watching who are not present in the meeting here as a council member, while we go into breakout rooms, there isn't a way to record that, so we will be pausing and then coming back as a group when the recording will continue. Okay, about 1 minute left, council members. All right, and if you could start coming back, that would be lovely. Okay, what we're going to be doing is assigning you just to a random room because there's 8 plus me, that makes 9. So we're going to do 3 rooms of 3 people each. In the rooms, if you could just share out what you jotted down as what you feel is your role description as a council member, and then also the either essential goal elements, or you may have even drafted some goals, but share what your thoughts are around that. We'll have about another 15 minutes to meet together. And if you could, in your small rooms, agree on 3 to 5 of these goal elements that you really feel like should be included, we'll come back together and do a report out and a share. Any questions before going into rooms? All right.
Melissa, actually,
Oh, yes.
a quick question. Can you give a couple examples of what you mean by goals, for example? So
Here are our current goals. You might decide, hey, we should stick with the goals that we have. Or you might say, hey, based on the work this year, I think that this should be our goal. You know, like I mentioned here, our last goal about develop a birth through grade 12 literacy success strategy. We developed K3, we need to still continue. So that's like something I would personally like to see continue as one of our goals to finish that document. But as I said, I really want this to be a conversation where your voices are heard and we are creating these together, like we did the last time. Did that help?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right, so we'll meet for about 15 minutes. We'll see if that's enough time. If not, we could do a few minutes more and then we'll come together as a whole group. So Leslie, when you're ready, if you could assign, that would be lovely.
Okay, it is all automatic, so I don't know where everyone is.
That's true. If you could click, that would be lovely.
I'm opening the rooms now.
You brought us back.
Now I know Stephen had to leave at 2. Is this everybody? 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I guess that's everyone. All right, wonderful. So what I'm going to ask is for one person in each group to kind of report out what the conversation was about, what bubbled up, if you came up with any goals or potential ideas, because once again, we can focus on this for a couple meetings. I just really wanted to start the conversation. So is there a group who wants to go first?
Where is my group?
You're on mute, Michael.
Yeah, we can go first, and I don't want to speak for the group, but maybe I can say I can start, and the other
Okay.
and Lisa and Lauren can jump in. But we talked about trying, working on as a goal as to identifying the kinds of supports that the center can provide to schools and districts to, improve literacy and reading in general, and also in particular, helping schools and districts go through the process of doing a needs assessment, helping to identify and evaluate different programs in the sort of adoption process, helping to support potentially how districts are able to purchase materials, then how to facilitate the right kind of professional development or training to have high levels of implementation. So trying to focus on this idea of the really working on what are the kind of supports that the center can provide to schools and districts to do this important work. And Lisa and Maureen, you can jump in and add to that.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we talked about trying to brainstorm all the ways that the center can support districts through implementation, and a part of that obviously is to lend the expertise, but also to soften the financial impact. So if the center is able to help with some of the professional development support, I don't know if there's a goal for the folks who are employed at the center to be familiar with the programs on the list, and be able to, help with some of the training in those programs. I don't know if that's a realistic expectation. It might be a dream and not a possibility, but that could help districts. So we tried to think about things like that as well.
Maureen, did you want to add anything to your group?
My apologies, I got kicked out of the meeting, so I missed the first
Mid-sentence.
You guys are trying to tell me something, but I believe what I caught from Michael and Lisa did kind of reflect our thoughts on that. So
we also talked about being part of an ongoing review process for curriculum models that might be added to the list, and continuing to act as disseminators and liaisons to the districts.
I hope you wrote these down, because then you can send them to me and we can capture them. Because you're saying them all so well right now that I know that Leslie is taking notes, but it's always helpful if you did write them down. You can send it to us to capture in the notes.
We can try. Are we being recorded now?
Oh yeah, that's a good point as well. I forget about that. Thank you, Lisa. How about another group?
I'll report out for our group. It was Steve Hernandez, Melissa Hickey, and myself, and we spoke. I just mentioned the fact that I am not sure if there shouldn't be an interim goal between before kids reading at or above grade level in grade 3. I happen to believe that children should be beginning to read at the end of grade 1 and reading independently at the end of grade 3. And I just said that coming into kindergarten, it's 4 years before we have that expectation. I think we probably need to have an earlier one. The other thing is, I think the Right to Read bill has an incredible amount in that bill. And our first goal was to review the research and analyze strategies on the implementation of science of reading. I think it's somewhat unfortunate, but the crux of the conversation and focus, I think, in many places has been the program piece. I think the program piece is a very small piece of the entire science of reading, which is, and some of the strategies that we ought to be engaging in. For example, I'm not sure that every district has the interventionists that they need. I'm not sure that every district has the tutoring that they need. I'm not sure that every district has the trained teachers that they need. And I do believe that it is the role, and by the way, they don't have the curriculum that they need, which I find different from program. I believe it's the role of the council, I'm hoping it is, that we analyze these strategies, discuss these strategies, and talk about how to make them public. I've been concerned for years now with the implementation of SRBI, RTI, MTSS, whatever you want to call it. We're covering that in the master class, and I'm seeing some things happen there. But the fact of the matter is that bill is so full, and I'm not sure I'm hoping that the council is charged with that, looking at the implementation of those strategies in the bill and helping the center to move those out. The other thing that I said is this is not a technical problem, and I'm co-chairing a special ed task, and we fought hard. It's a legislative task force, so it's streamed, it's recorded, but we fought hard to get around the table at CAPS. I'm not saying it has to be CAPS, in person, because we really felt we could not solve this issue without being in person and having interactive conversation around the table. It's working, and we're able to stream, we're able to record, we're able to do all the things we have to do, but more important, change ideas. And I think it's helped a lot. So I just mentioned that that might be something that we want to think about, because we're doing an adaptive issue here, and adaptive issues and working on adaptive issues take lots of interaction.
Thank you, Fran. Our last but not least group. Margie, Melissa, Kim.
I guess I'll speak up since Margie and Kim haven't said anything after a pause.
I can't get my video to turn on, and I just figured out I was muted. But so, Melissa, I'll add on if you start.
We began by reviewing our roles, our individual roles as members of the council. We discussed that role being a thought partner, being a support to the council. Additionally, we discussed like some of the possible goals. One of the questions that I asked to understand, like survey the context of the state, I wondered the status of the Hanover survey results, and could that survey results be a diagnostic tool to understanding where each district is with their implementation of reading just in general, to know strategic entry points whether it's around assessment or professional development or core program. I believe Kim mentioned that she had hoped that the legislature would review the use of mandated programs and consider not having mandated programs. I believe she shared that in the group as well. And I'll let Margie add on any other details that I didn't mention.
I think you covered most of it. We believe that the current goals were good. And, we might want to expand, but we felt that they captured important things that we, the council, should be supporting. In terms of the role, I personally think that I would like to continue to be a resource for informing the activities of the center. But of course, we can't do the work, and we recognized that you, Melissa, have a lot, to do, especially we're waiting for your update in terms of the people that you hope to hire. But at the moment, as I understand it, you don't have help, and it's a lot of responsibility. So we just acknowledge that we, the council, could be helpful in supporting you in your role.
Thank you, Kim. Did you want to add anything to the group?
I think I covered it in the wrong section of our meeting, but just basically the same thing. And, like one of the objectives, expanding K through 12, I fully support. But again, I'm not a big mandate person. I think, we parents, can persuade their boards of education locally to, if we bring awareness to it. And I've been doing that myself, just locally. So really nothing else to add.
All right, thank you. When Stephen, Fran, and I were having our conversation, you see kind of beyond or expand outside that box to really focus on that this, although it is, yes, legislated, that we all have our eyes on this prize, right, of getting kids to read and focusing on what's the right thing to do. And the legislation was that vehicle to be doing this. And, I could not do it alone. And that's why I so appreciate everything you all have done in support of the work that we have been doing, asking the questions, voicing those opinions, today talking about these should be our goals moving forward. We're still coming together as this council and crafting our way about, what is our role? What is our responsibility? This is what legislation says, and this is how we feel it should be moving forward. So I can't thank you enough. So yes, Margie, although I'm the only person in the center right now, I do have wonderful colleagues. The commissioner has been just amazing with her support, the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, Senator Miller, like I said, all of you, so many people in the field. I could go on and on and on, but although I'm just one person in the center right now, I'm definitely not alone. And Margie, Darcy, Mike, as our literacy partners, have been so supportive with this work. Dr. Jenkins?
Just one question. I guess, would it be possible during the year, as we craft goals, for those goals to have some kind of progress monitor associated to encourage, like to inspire, maybe, and keep us in the game? Because, often, Bridgeport is like scrambling dollars. We're scrambling dollars to put together to buy a program. But for the first time, we had the ESSER funds, so we're not necessarily scrambling. But like I used to scramble and say, oh, we have enough money for K3. And then, yay, then we had enough money for 4-6. Yay. So I guess I was wondering, like, as we support school districts across the state, like getting feedback, or like how many districts in the state already have a core program versus not, and then like a kind of like a dashboard. How many teachers have completed, say, a science or reading PD, like a dashboard? I mean, maybe I'm being too literal because we do that in districts, but it motivates me. Like when I'm training teachers, oh, I've trained all the K teachers, I've trained all the first grade teachers, like check, check, check. Like it keeps me kind of going. So I guess I was wondering, if we could build something in like that where people know that the landscape is changing, even if it's slow. And what prompted my thinking was Fran's comment about being adaptive, because it's not going to happen overnight. It is a process, and adaptive learning takes time.
There are no rules on our goals or how we structure them, so we can talk as a council what you want that to look like. And like I said too, we can, if you have ideas, you can send them. We can definitely extend this to our next meeting as well, because it seems like we're not going to finish in the time we have allotted, which I didn't expect. That's why I was saying more, what are you thinking about the goals? And yeah, I think this is great. I think this is very exciting. I think it's very forward thinking. I appreciate everything that you're bringing to this work, and we can have these look however they want. Think about too, do we want to craft them, have one more meeting, talk about them? I mean, that's why I so often say, it's this consensus, pushing it back. What do you guys want? What do you need? What are you thinking? So let's talk about that first before we go on to our next, which is an update, and then talking about our meetings for the next coming year. Lisa?
I agree with Melissa's thought about some kind of dashboard, some way, because it also can help guide us in terms of which goals should be taking priority at any given time. And I also think we should spend another meeting discussing goals, and having been working through this for a while now and understanding where our various concerns and successes are, that can help us craft those goals in a better way.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. And what I heard, what I think is pretty loudly and clearly, is that we will be doing more of a Robert's Rules kind of setting, where in this case, I would say about making a motion. So we're not going to this time, but the next time we'll be making the motion, right? About the next meeting. Is there anyone who is against the next meeting being devoted to the goals?
No.
As this was? Okay.
And I think the Robert Rules suggestion was really at how the minutes function. I don't know if there was an intent for you to have to apply that to an entire meeting. That's a lot to ask of you, especially if you're not a Robert's Rules expert. But
so I'm going to rely on all of you who are. So no, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. The meeting was crafted this way in the very beginning because that's how a lot of the other councils and committees are run, more of this consensus and not really having formal approval of minutes, but more having this consensus on the minutes and posting. If you all are more comfortable with something, I am fine with that too. So absolutely fine.
Asking to have her video turned back on.
Yeah, and I can't. I'm not the person that can do that. So
to do that either. I'm not sure why it says administrator. I didn't press the option, or anything.
Somehow it just wouldn't turn on, but that's okay. I just wanted you to see my face and know I'm sitting here listening and paying attention, but it's okay.
Yeah, I can mute you, but that's not what I want to do.
And I'll really take it personally.
I know. All right, so I'm going to, since we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to do just a very quick update and address some of the things Kim had in some questions in an email, which I appreciate. If you ever have questions or want something discussed on a meeting that's upcoming, do not hesitate to reach out. So the updates, and also with Margie asking about the hiring interviewing process. So the legislators were amazing and very supportive, talking, and our commissioner talking about 5 people. So we are currently interviewing for 5 associate education consultant positions. The interview committee must consist of Connecticut employees, state employees. So what's really exciting is I was able to pull 2 council members. So Dr. Coyne, Stephen Hernandez, and myself are the state people who are interviewing the people who are applying for that position. That we hope to have the interviews completed by the end of May, and then moving forward with the HR process. Also, an admin, administrative assistant, so an AA position, will be interviewing in June for that. So those are all very, very exciting. So once again, thanks to Stephen and Mike. The ARPA Right to Read grants, those are going to be posted. They're posted right now for districts to look at and review, but they will be opening up soon, which will be giving monies to all the districts so that they can be using the funds for professional learning, the programs, curriculum, and assessments with this. That is a grant open to any and all districts and charter schools. Everyone gets allotted funds under a certain formula, and then it's up to them if they want to move forward with the grant and getting those monies. That'll be for 2 years. Then we're also working on using another funding source, which is the ARP ESSER funding for small districts in particular. So the small districts will be receiving an extra allocation as well. So as soon as the ARPA Right to Read grants move forward, then this next one will follow with the paperwork, etc. We will be opening up professional learning called ReadCon again. That will be, the registration will probably be in June for the cohort in the fall, and superintendents will be notified of that, and local and boards of ed. We're waiting to hear on the proposed legislation. There is proposed legislation to extend the mandate of having everything in place by July 1 of 2023, giving all districts, local and regional boards of education 2 more years to do that. So there'd be a longer implementation process. We and the legislators, obviously, we're hearing so often, and from all of you as well, that districts just didn't have time to look at what was available, to provide professional learning, and to roll out and or to pilot materials. So we're hoping that this does get approved and move forward to allow districts that extra time. I'm just looking at my updates, and I think that's it. Lisa, did you have a question?
Yes, thanks. Just very quick. You mentioned another set of grants for small districts. Is there a definition of small?
There actually is a definition of small. I don't have it right here on hand, but I can send that to you. It was something that
that would be great.
So Ajit put together exact details around that. I was just handed the list of what districts those are.
Oh,
so
the list would be amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be great if you can share that.
Sure, absolutely, yes. And once again, this has not been rolled out to districts yet. We still have to put the grant shell in place into our EGMS system and get the guidance, etc., approved. So you all have new information. What I'd really love to do too is to look at the dates for our upcoming meeting for next year and have that conversation. We only have 3 minutes around. Oh, sure, Kim, I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand up. I'm sorry.
That's okay. How many municipalities have asked for a waiver?
So we have 86 applications for waivers right now, obviously closed. So we have 86, and we have moved forward with our contract with PCG. They will be assisting us in reviewing the waivers. We will notify districts by the end of June about the status of the waiver based on so much information and feedback from the field and from CAPS. We knew that it was important to schedule half-an-hour blocks of time to offer to the districts asking for waivers, in which they could ask questions, they could bring things forward, they can highlight, reviewers can ask questions. So that's where we are right now. And then PCG, not only do they have experience, one of the people actually participated in the Colorado waiver process. So, you know, we're not the only state that has legislation like this. And they will use the data to then also guide ReadCon and the professional learning to see if there are questions that people have around the science of reading.
So have any waivers been granted yet?
No, we have not yet reviewed them because the contract just got approved. So we're putting the process in place. Everything will be posted on the website so people can see the exact rubric that will be utilized. They will see who is reviewing them, and they will see information about the reviewers and their backgrounds.
Okay, and I think it came up once before about an appeals process. I don't remember what the answer was on that. Will there be an opportunity for an appeal, like if it's just one little piece that's missing?
I think we'll have to see what it's like, but no, there's not an appeal process. I know I'm saying they have this opportunity to do the waiver. They're going to have the half an hour in which that they can, you know, share any information that they have, answer questions, like I said, that the reviewers may have. But once they hear back from the state about their application, then they can either move forward with what they requested, or they're going to have to look into those approved Connecticut literacy curriculum models or programs.
And have we added any more to the list?
No,
is that not the plan to add any more as they come up?
Like I said before, we're hoping through this process that some others will bubble up that we can add. It is very time intensive, and we've had to ask, you know, it's hard to get people to do it, to be quite honest. So it's not something we can be doing every year, but we're hoping that through this waiver process, some others do bubble up as to what will become broader approved programs and models for the state.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, it is 2:30, so what I'd like to do is just, we're done with our time. So I guess we're gonna have to table the meeting dates until our next time. We will be meeting, I wanna say in June 20th. So we can talk about the draft meeting dates. We can obviously, I'll craft the agenda, including further conversation around our goals. And I thank you so much. This was really great hearing about, you know, your roles, the expectations. Yeah, if you, when you're looking at these dates ahead of time, council members, feel free once again to email and say, ooh, I think this is not good, but we can have a broader conversation too. So in between, look, give us feedback. We just picked based on the rhythm of right now. It doesn't mean that we have to stick to that. And please, you know, really think about Fran's thinking around meeting in person, even if it's every other time. But yeah, I think that would be great as well. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you all. Bye.